Gluttony. Now, when you hear that word, you probably picture someone eating too much. Gluttony has been reduced to a simple issue of diet and self-control. But to the early thinkers, gluttony was much more. The classical definition is laverda, the Latin word for wastefulness. It was the failure of proper consumption. Gluttony is not just too much food. It is the mindset of never enough. It is the addiction to comfort, the relentless pursuit of one more thing. In Greek mythology, there is the story of King Erisichthon. He was a gluttonous man, not just for food, but for self-interest. One day, he chopped down a sacred grove, ignoring the pleas of the nymph within the trees. As punishment, the goddess Demeter inflicted him with an insatiable hunger. No matter how much Erisichthon ate, he was never full. He consumed his family's fortune, his horses, and his cattle. And when he ran out of possessions to sell for food, the myth says he began to eat his own limbs. He consumed himself to death. Erisichthon is the ultimate glutton. He destroyed everything outside of himself, and then everything inside of himself, trying to satisfy a desire that could not be satisfied. What makes gluttony dangerous is not the act of eating. It is what happens when desire governs reason. Ancient thinkers framed appetite as something to be ordered, not eliminated. Hunger is natural, desire is natural, but allowing desire to dictate action without deliberation, that was considered a failure of reason. Plato, in the Republic, divided the soul into three parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. Justice within the individual, he argued, exists only when reason governs the others. When appetite leads, decision-making becomes reactive. Action follows impulse. Rationalization comes after. This is the structure of gluttony. The Stoics refined this further. Epictetus made a distinction between impressions and assent. An impression, hunger, craving, or urge, arises involuntarily. Assent, however, is voluntary. You may feel hunger without obeying it without measure. From this perspective, gluttony is not the presence of desire. It is unexamined obedience to desire. The Stoics would ask, can you stop? Can you choose? That is the heart of the matter. Gluttony was never just about food. Any pattern of consumption that replaces deliberation with compulsion fits the same logic. Relief is sought rather than nourishment. Repetition replaces satisfaction. Tolerance increases. Fulfillment diminishes. Seneca observed that indulgence weakens resistance. Each act of surrender makes the next more automatic. Appetite ceases to be negotiable. It becomes governing. Ancient thinkers also linked gluttony with avoidance of discomfort. Hunger, delay, restraint, even boredom, these were seen as necessary for resilience. Gluttony removes them immediately. The result is not pleasure, it is fragility. When discomfort is no longer tolerated, desire must be constantly appeased. The individual becomes dependent on external consumption to regulate internal state. So how does one overcome gluttony? How do we reclaim reason over appetite? The first step is awareness. Recognize that gluttony is not about quantity alone. It is about unexamined desire. Identify the patterns where consumption replaces deliberation, where seeking relief replaces true satisfaction. The second step is restraint, not abstinence, but proportion. Aristotle described temperance as the mean between excess and deficiency. Eating and drinking, enjoying pleasure, even seeking comfort, all are permitted, but only under reason's governance. Stop before excess. Release before attachment. Desire without compulsion. Next, practice discomfort deliberately. Delay, fasting, or even voluntary simplicity trains the mind to tolerate what is natural but not urgent. Appetite becomes negotiable, not commanding. Desire is no longer the ruler, but the servant of reason. Seneca emphasized reflection after indulgence. Ask yourself, was this necessary? Was this measured? Did this satisfy or simply prolong craving? Repeated reflection strengthens judgment. Over time, appetite is no longer automatic, it is conscious. Finally, cultivate higher pleasures. Gluttony thrives when lower impulses dominate attention. Philosophy, study, creativity, meaningful work, these train the mind to find fulfillment beyond mere consumption. When reason and purpose guide desire, appetite loses its tyranny. Gluttony, then, is not simply overeating. It is the surrender of reason to appetite. And overcoming it is not punishment, it is training. It is learning to govern oneself, to eat and stop, to enjoy and release, to desire without compulsion. Because a person who can do this is free. A person who cannot is consumed from the inside out. Thank you for listening.